There comes a moment in every seeker's journey when the noise of the world becomes too loud, when even the most inspiring messages lose their color and silence begins to feel like the only place left to find truth. This silence is not emptiness, it is an invitation. It is the whisper of the universe asking you to return home to yourself, to the sacred space that exists beneath the noise, beneath the roles, beneath the expectations that have shaped your life. That sacred inner space is not an abstract idea. It is the center of your being, the place where peace is not something to achieve, but something that already exists, waiting to be remembered. When life feels chaotic and the path ahead seems uncertain, it's not because you've lost your way, but because your inner compass has become clouded by external interference. In that fog, decisions feel heavy, relationships drain you, and even your faith begins to wobble. Yet the truth is that clarity doesn't come from trying harder or searching further. It comes from stopping long enough to listen. The moment you pause and breathe deeply, the moment you stop chasing the answers outside yourself, you begin to notice something extraordinary. The universe has been speaking to you all along. It speaks through intuition, through coincidences that are not coincidences, through sensations that rise within your body like gentle waves guiding you toward your next right step. This journey toward creating a sacred inner space is not about isolation. It is about alignment. It is about building an intimate relationship with the stillness that connects you to all things. The more you nurture that connection, the clearer your choices become. Not because life stops testing you, but because you stop reacting from fear and start responding from presence. The universe does not demand control. It asks for cooperation. It doesn't need you to force outcomes. It needs you to open to guidance. In this video, we will travel together through the landscapes of stillness, energy, and awareness. We will uncover how to cleanse your inner space from the noise of doubt, fear, and external expectations, and how to transform that space into a sanctuary of wisdom and light. You will learn how to listen with your whole being, mind, heart, and soul, and how to recognize the difference between the anxious voice of the ego and the steady pulse of divine intuition. And by the end, you will realize that clarity was never something to be found out there. It was always waiting inside you, patient and eternal, ready to guide you toward the life your soul has been trying to create all along. Every transformation begins with a pause. Before clarity takes form, before purpose reveals its path, there is a sacred silence, a moment when everything slows just enough for truth to surface. Most people avoid this stillness because it feels uncomfortable. They are conditioned to move, to fix, to strive, as if the world would collapse without their constant intervention. Yet, that frantic movement is precisely what separates them from the natural rhythm of creation. Stillness is not the absence of progress. It is the soil from which progress grows. When the inner world becomes still, the energy of life begins to rearrange itself, guiding each step with precision and grace. The first foundation of this inner space is awareness. Awareness is the gentle act of returning home to your own breath, your own heartbeat, your own energy. It is learning to sit with yourself without judgment. Imagine a lake disturbed by endless ripples. You cannot see your reflection until the surface calms. The same is true for your mind. When your thoughts race, you lose sight of your true image. But as awareness deepens, the mind clears, and you begin to recognize the reflection of your higher self, a self untouched by noise, stories, or fears. This is where you begin to remember that you were never lost. You were only distracted by the echoes of the external world. Stillness is not passive. It is alive, pulsating with the same intelligence that spins galaxies and opens flowers at dawn. When you become still, you synchronize with that intelligence. The heartbeat of the universe becomes your own. This is why moments of stillness often bring sudden understanding, ideas that feel too clear to have come from you alone. In truth, they did not. They rose through you, carried by the current of consciousness that connects all things. You are not a separate observer of the universe. You are the very space through which the universe expresses itself. To realize this is to understand that guidance is never absent. It is only drowned out by internal noise. People often believe that clarity must come through thinking harder, analyzing every possibility, or weighing pros and cons until the answer appears. But thinking is a limited instrument. The mind is designed to measure, compare, and recall. It is not designed to create from the infinite. When you rely only on analysis, You create decisions that look correct, but feel hollow. The path of the sacred inner space requires a different faculty, intuitive intelligence, which arises not from reasoning but from resonance. You begin to feel when something aligns rather than think about why it should. You recognize truth not as a conclusion, but as an energetic knowing that settles in your body. This is the essence of clarity guided by the universe. However, to reach this level of awareness, you must first learn to cleanse the noise accumulated through years of external conditioning. The noise takes many forms: other people's expectations, the pressure to perform, the habit of proving your worth, the fear of disappointing others. Each of these fragments occupies space within your consciousness, leaving little room for divine guidance to enter. Cleansing this noise does not mean rejecting the world. It means remembering that your energy is sacred and must be guarded. Every time you pause before reacting, every time you breathe before speaking, every time you choose peace over argument, you reclaim a piece of that sacred space. Over time, this becomes your natural state, a sanctuary that exists even in the midst of chaos. The act of creating a sacred inner space also requires compassion. Without compassion, silence becomes isolation. Compassion softens the boundaries of your awareness and allows you to remain open while centered. It teaches you that clarity is not cold certainty. It is gentle understanding. When you practice compassion toward yourself, you dissolve the harshness of perfectionism, the self-criticism that whispers you are not enough. Those judgments cloud perception more than any external distraction. As you replace self-judgment with compassion, you begin to see yourself as the universe sees you, worthy, luminous, endlessly becoming. And when you see yourself that way, every decision you make carries that same frequency of love into the world. In the architecture of the soul, stillness is the foundation, awareness is the framework, and compassion is the open door. These three elements create a space where guidance flows naturally. From this space, the smallest actions become sacred rituals. Drinking water becomes a ceremony of gratitude. Walking becomes communion with life. Speaking becomes an act of creation. You no longer need to search for meaning because meaning begins to infuse everything you do. The mundane transforms into the miraculous because you are finally present enough to notice. This process does not demand perfection. It invites presence. There will be days when your inner space feels cluttered again, when old fears return, when silence feels unreachable. Those moments are not failure. They are invitations to deepen your practice. Each time you return to stillness, you strengthen your connection with the divine current that lives within you. You learn that the path is not about eliminating chaos, but remaining centered as it unfolds. The goal is not to escape the world, but to embody such depth of peace that even the world's storms cannot touch your core. At its heart, creating a sacred inner space is an act of remembrance. It is remembering that you were never separate from the universe, never abandoned, never truly lost. You are a living expression of the same intelligence that moves oceans and lights the stars. The more you surrender to that truth, the lighter your choices become. You stop forcing outcomes and begin allowing alignment. You stop seeking approval and start living authenticity. And when you finally learn to dwell in that stillness, life begins to move through you with ease, precision, and grace. Because the universe no longer needs to shout to be heard. It speaks softly now in the rhythm of your breath, in the quiet between your thoughts, in the sacred silence that has always been your true home. There is a moment in every seeker's life when the outer world grows silent, not because it has stopped speaking, but because you have finally learned to listen differently. What once sounded like noise begins to take shape as patterns, whispers, and signs that seem to move in rhythm with your heartbeat. This is not coincidence. It is communication. The universe has always spoken in a language of synchronicity, emotion, and vibration. The real question is not whether the universe is speaking, but whether you have created enough stillness within to hear it. When you begin to listen from the sacred inner space, guidance ceases to feel abstract. It becomes tangible, like a soft current carrying you toward alignment. But for many, this guidance feels faint, inconsistent, or even absent. That happens because most people listen with their minds instead of their essence. The mind demands logic, timelines, and control, while the universe speaks in energy, intuition, and feeling. To truly hear the divine, You must move beyond the mind's insistence on understanding and enter the body's natural intelligence. The body recognizes truth long before the intellect names it. A calm heart, a steady breath, a feeling of expansion. These are not just sensations. They are confirmations from the cosmos that you are in resonance with your path. Still, many mistake restlessness for divine disconnection. They ask, why doesn't the universe respond? Unaware that impatience itself creates interference. The universe never withholds guidance. It simply mirrors the frequency from which you ask. If your energy vibrates with doubt, fear, or urgency, the reflection you receive will be distorted. But when your energy is grounded in trust, surrender, and openness, the reflection becomes crystal clear. You receive not through demand, but through harmony. Just as a radio must be tuned to the correct frequency to catch a signal, your energy must be aligned with the vibration of clarity to perceive the messages that are constantly arriving. Divine communication is subtle. It does not shout or insist. It emerges through synchronicities, a book that falls open to a specific page, a stranger's comment that answers your question, a song that plays precisely when you needed it most. To the untrained eye, these moments appear random. To the conscious listener, they are sacred dialogues. The more you acknowledge these interactions, the stronger they become. Gratitude sharpens perception. Every time you say, I see, I understand, you strengthen the bridge between yourself and the infinite. This is not superstition. It is awareness elevated to reverence. But divine communication does not always come in comfort. Sometimes the universe speaks through disruption. Relationships ending, doors closing, opportunities dissolving. These are not punishments, they are redirections. The energy that guides you forward will dismantle anything built on misalignment. Resistance often amplifies pain, yet acceptance reveals wisdom. When something leaves your life unexpectedly, it is not the universe turning away from you. It is the universe making space for what truly belongs. Each ending is an initiation into deeper alignment. Listening to the universe also requires courage, for the truth it reveals may ask you to change direction, to release attachments that once defined you. Many people pray for clarity, but unconsciously fear the transformation it brings. Clarity is not gentle when it exposes what you have outgrown. It is raw, honest, and liberating. It shows you where you have been settling, where you have betrayed your essence for comfort, where you have silenced your own intuition to please others. To follow divine guidance means to trust that what lies beyond the known will sustain you. It means stepping into the mystery without a guarantee, relying on faith as the bridge between vision and manifestation. This relationship with the universe is not a transaction. It is a partnership. The more you align your internal vibration with authenticity, the clearer the conversation becomes. When you act from integrity, the universe responds in kind. When you speak with love, life echoes that frequency back to you. Guidance flows most powerfully when your intentions arise from service rather than ego. The universe is not concerned with superficial success. It responds to the purity of your essence. The question is never, what do I want? But what wants to unfold through me? When your desires align with the collective evolution of consciousness, manifestation becomes effortless because you are no longer swimming against the current. You are the current itself. Trust is the currency of this sacred communication. The human mind craves evidence before surrender, yet the universe operates through surrender before evidence. Trust does not mean blind faith. It means holding space for uncertainty without collapsing into fear. It is remembering that even when the path is invisible, the destination is certain because it is written in vibration long before it becomes visible form. The more you trust, the more you receive. The more you doubt, the more static fills the signal. It is not punishment. It is energetic physics. The outer world adjusts to the quality of your inner world. Over time, as you cultivate inner silence and attunement, you will notice that guidance no longer arrives only in moments of crisis. It becomes a continuous dialogue, a rhythm woven through your everyday life. You begin to move with a quiet confidence, sensing when to act, when to rest, when to release, and when to receive. You stop chasing validation because the universe itself becomes your reassurance. You begin to live in alignment, not by effort, but by embodiment. The most profound realization is that the voice of the universe is not separate from your own inner voice. It is not something external that visits you. It is consciousness, speaking through the channel of your awareness. The more you trust yourself, the more clearly you hear the divine. The journey is circular. You listen to the universe to learn how to trust yourself, and you trust yourself to hear the universe more deeply. The sacred inner space becomes both the receiver and the transmitter of divine intelligence. In that union, guidance ceases to be something you seek. It becomes the way you live. This is the harmony that the sages spoke of, the serenity that mystics described when they said they were one with all that is. It is not a state reserved for a few enlightened beings. It is the birthright of every soul willing to listen with humility and love. When you cultivate that listening, when you honor the subtle voice that rises within you, the entire cosmos aligns to support your next step. The wind changes, the path clears, the timing perfects itself, not through control, but through communion. And in that communion you realize that you were never walking alone. You were always being guided, every breath, every moment, by a wisdom far greater than thought, yet as intimate as your own heartbeat. Every life operates within a frequency, an invisible rhythm that shapes experiences, relationships, and the events that seem to arrive by chance. You can call it vibration, energy, or resonance. It is all the same force that connects what you feel inside with what unfolds outside. When that frequency is scattered by fear, worry, or resistance, life reflects confusion. When it is aligned with peace, gratitude, and clarity, life mirrors coherence. Alignment is not about perfection or constant positivity. It is about congruence. When thought, feeling, and action move in harmony. This alignment is the essence of the sacred inner space. It is what allows the universe to recognize your signal and respond with precision. Most people live in contradiction. They desire abundance while vibrating scarcity. They long for love while doubting their worth. They ask for clarity while holding on to confusion, because confusion feels safer than change. Energy alignment begins the moment you stop negotiating with your truth. The moment you decide that peace is no longer optional but essential, the frequency of your life begins to shift. You start attracting not what you want superficially, but what matches the depth of who you have become. Every thought carries a frequency, every emotion transmits a signal, every word spoken creates a ripple that expands beyond what you can see. This is not metaphor, it is the architecture of consciousness. The energy you embody becomes the blueprint of your reality. When your inner world vibrates with coherence, the outer world rearranges itself to match it. You may notice sudden opportunities appearing, people leaving who no longer align, or new paths unfolding without struggle. It is not magic, it is the natural law of resonance. The universe is constantly tuning itself to your dominant vibration. Yet, alignment requires awareness of misalignment. Many people confuse numbness with peace. They suppress emotion in the name of spirituality, believing that detachment equals mastery. But unexpressed emotion does not disappear. It lingers in the energetic field, distorting clarity. True alignment does not reject emotion, it integrates it. Anger, grief, disappointment, even jealousy. Each emotion carries information about where your energy has been trapped. When acknowledged without judgment, emotion becomes motion again, energy liberated to flow freely through the system. This flow restores coherence, the natural order of your being. The process of realignment is both tender and courageous. It asks you to listen where you used to avoid listening, to feel what you used to numb, to forgive what you used to defend. Forgiveness is one of the highest frequencies because it dissolves resistance. It is not the approval of what happened, it is the release of the energetic bond that keeps you tied to it. When you forgive, you do not free the other person, you free your energy from the past. The space that opens is immediately filled by light, and in that light, guidance returns. The voice of the universe becomes audible again because you are no longer blocking the signal with resentment. Gratitude is another key vibration of alignment. It shifts your awareness from lack to presence, from what is missing to what is already here. Gratitude refines perception. It teaches the nervous system to recognize safety and sufficiency, dissolving the fear that fuels scarcity. The moment you express genuine gratitude, you alter the chemistry of the body and the vibration of the field around you. It is as if the universe leans closer, listening, expanding the flow of what matches that appreciation. Gratitude, when practiced consistently, becomes an energetic signature that draws coherence wherever you go. But energy alignment is not maintained through isolated moments of meditation or ritual. It is built through the quiet discipline of consistency. The sacred inner space is not a temple you visit. It is a home you inhabit. It is the way you wake up, the way you breathe through uncertainty, the way you respond when the world does not bend to your will. Each small act of integrity reinforces the alignment between your intention and your energy. Each moment of awareness becomes a thread that weaves your life into the tapestry of divine timing. The truth of alignment is that it simplifies life. Complexity dissolves when energy is coherent. Decisions become clear, not because you analyze better, but because the answer that matches your vibration reveals itself naturally. Relationships evolve, some closing with grace, others deepening beyond previous understanding. Opportunities that once required immense effort begin to arrive through synchronicity. This is the reward of energetic alignment, the experience of effortlessness, not because you stop acting, but because your actions arise from flow rather than friction. Even so, alignment is not static. It breathes and moves with you. There will be times when old patterns resurface, moments when fatigue lowers your vibration. The sacred inner space does not demand constant elevation. It asks for honesty. When you recognize you are off-center, that recognition itself is the return. The energy of awareness carries the seed of correction. The simple act of breathing consciously, of acknowledging, "I am out of harmony," begins the recalibration. The universe never stops supporting you. It simply waits for your frequency to match the guidance already present. To live in alignment is to live in partnership with life. It is to release the illusion of control and embrace participation. You are not here to dominate your reality through willpower. You are here to co-create it through resonance. Every experience, pleasant or painful, serves the refinement of your energy. Every challenge reveals where you still cling to resistance. Alignment is not a reward for perfection. It is the natural outcome of authenticity. When you stop pretending, your vibration becomes pure again, and purity magnetizes clarity. The more aligned you become, the less you chase. You begin to realize that manifestation is not about forcing outcomes, but about matching the frequency of what you seek. Love is drawn to love. Abundance is drawn to openness. Clarity is drawn to stillness. The universe does not respond to words, it responds to vibration. You attract not what you demand, but what you embody. That is why every moment spent in inner coherence is a moment spent in creation. You are sculpting reality not with effort, but with energy. In the end, alignment is the art of remembrance. It is remembering that your energy is the language through which the universe hears you. It is remembering that peace is not earned, but allowed. It is remembering that every breath is a bridge between the visible and the invisible. When you walk in this remembrance, life stops being a puzzle to solve and becomes a melody to follow. You no longer ask, "When will things change?" because you feel the change already unfolding inside you. The sacred inner space becomes not just your refuge, but your compass, guiding you through the currents of existence with unwavering clarity and grace. There is a delicate point on every spiritual journey when control, once your greatest ally, becomes your greatest barrier. For so long, you were taught that strength meant certainty, that effort meant success, that the tighter you held on, the safer you would be. But the sacred path of alignment with the universe requires a different form of power, the power of surrender. Surrender does not mean weakness or defeat. It is the ultimate act of trust. It is the conscious release of resistance, the moment when you stop trying to force life into your design and allow the divine design to reveal itself through you. In that surrender, clarity is born, because the universe can finally flow through an open vessel rather than wrestle with a closed hand. Every human heart carries an instinctive desire for control. It emerges from fear, the fear of loss, uncertainty, and the unknown. But control, though comforting in illusion, creates friction against the natural current of life. The more you attempt to control outcomes, the more tension you create within your energy field, and that tension blocks the intuitive flow that carries you toward alignment. The sacred inner space cannot breathe in the presence of control. It thrives only in openness. When you surrender, you are not abandoning your path. You are aligning with it. You move from resistance to participation, from manipulation to cooperation. Surrender is not a single act, It is a rhythm, a lifelong dance between action and release. There are moments when life invites you to move forward boldly, to take initiative, to create. And there are moments when the greatest act of courage is to stop pushing and listen. When you learn this balance, your life ceases to feel like a struggle and begins to feel like choreography. Every event, every delay, every encounter forming part of a larger, unseen harmony. The energy you once spent fighting circumstances transforms into a deep reservoir of peace. Trust is the core of surrender. It is easy to trust when life unfolds according to your expectations, but true trust is forged in uncertainty. It is the willingness to believe that even in the silence, even in the confusion, the universe is still at work on your behalf. This kind of trust is not passive. It is active faith, a steady inner knowing that something greater is guiding you, even when you cannot see the map. When you surrender control, you do not stop moving. You move with awareness rather than anxiety. You begin to make choices from clarity, not desperation. Your decisions become softer, yet infinitely more powerful. Surrender also dismantles the illusion of separation. The ego insists that you are a solitary being, navigating life through willpower and logic. But the moment you surrender, you begin to sense the truth. You were never navigating alone. The same intelligence that orchestrates the rise of the sun and the cycles of the stars also breathes through you. The more you let go, the more this intelligence takes the lead. Synchronicities multiply. Obstacles dissolve in ways the rational mind could never have engineered. You realize that the universe was never testing you. It was teaching you to trust its rhythm. However, surrender requires the release of attachment, and this can be the most challenging part of the journey. Attachment clings to how things should be, while surrender opens to how things truly are. You may lose something you thought you could not live without, only to discover that its absence made room for what your soul had been craving all along. You may experience moments of emptiness before fullness returns. Yet even the emptiness is sacred. It is the clearing of old energy, the quiet before revelation. The soul knows that nothing real is ever lost. It only transforms. The paradox of surrender is that it gives back everything you once tried to control. When you stop chasing love, love flows toward you. When you stop fearing lack, abundance expands around you. When you stop demanding answers, wisdom arises effortlessly. This is because surrender aligns you with your highest frequency, the vibration of trust. Trust magnetizes everything meant for you. It dissolves delay, neutralizes fear, and restores divine timing. The very energy you once wasted in struggle becomes fuel for expansion. To live in surrender is to live in peace with uncertainty. It is to understand that not knowing is not a void, but a sacred space where new realities are being born. The mind fears the unknown because it cannot measure it, but the heart recognizes it as potential. When you anchor in that knowing, you move through life with a calm that cannot be shaken. You begin to see that even chaos has order, that every detour serves a purpose. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start realizing, "This is happening for me." There is beauty in surrender because it reveals the truth of your nature. You were never meant to carry the weight of controlling everything. You were meant to experience creation as a dance between your will and divine will, between choice and flow. When you surrender, you enter that dance fully. You allow life to express its wisdom through you, unfiltered and alive. You discover that peace is not found in perfect circumstances, but in perfect trust. In the deepest form of surrender, even the desire to understand begins to dissolve. You no longer seek to decode every experience. You simply live it, trusting that meaning will arise in its own time. You stop needing reassurance because the stillness within you has become enough. That is the sacred inner space at its purest, a field of presence so vast that nothing external can disturb it. Surrender, then, is the gateway to union. It is the moment when the self and the universe stop being two separate forces and become one movement of consciousness. It is the realization that you are not walking through life. Life is moving through you. And as you live from that truth, your choices no longer come from fear of the future, but from communion with the present. In this way, surrender becomes not the end of control, but the beginning of clarity, an everlasting dialogue between your soul and the infinite intelligence that has been guiding you since the first breath. The journey toward creating a sacred inner space is not about escaping the world. It is about entering it with new eyes. Every moment spent in stillness, every breath offered in awareness, every act guided by surrender becomes a thread that connects you to the deeper rhythm of the universe. Through stillness, you learned how to listen. Through trust, you remembered how to receive. Through alignment, you discovered how to move in harmony with all that is. The sacred space within you has become more than a refuge. It is now your foundation, the compass that quietly guides your every step. The universe has never been distant. It has been whispering through intuition, through silence, through the reflections of your own heart. The more you honor that voice, the more you realize that clarity does not arrive as a single revelation, but as a continuous unfolding. It appears in the way you speak to yourself with compassion, in the patience you offer others, and in the courage to walk your path even when no one else understands it. The sacred space you've cultivated does not remove challenges from life. It transforms how you meet them. In the stillness, you begin to see that every obstacle holds guidance, every delay hides divine timing, and every ending carries the seed of a new beginning. To live from this space is to embody peace, not as an ideal but as a frequency. It is to walk through life knowing that your choices are no longer driven by fear, but by wisdom. The world may remain unpredictable, but your connection to the infinite remains unshakable. And as you move forward, you understand that this was never about mastering the universe. It was about remembering that the universe has always been within you, guiding, loving, and waiting for your permission to lead. What if the clarity you've been searching for has been waiting quietly inside you all along, ready to rise the moment you stop resisting and start listening? If this message resonated with you, subscribe to the channel and join this growing circle of souls devoted to living consciously and in harmony with universal wisdom. Your path toward alignment has only just begun. Continue watching the next video appearing on your screen and allow your inner light to guide you even deeper into this sacred journey.